Good morning, everybody. Actually, it won't be morning by the time this is uploaded because I'm making this video a little bit late. Welcome to today's video. It is the start of a new month. It is August already. Crazy. So, welcome to the middle of summer. Welcome to slow sideways markets. Welcome to another drop on Bitcoin. Today's video, we're going to analyze, I can't talk this morning. We're going to analyze where we are on the monthly, on the weekly, on the daily, on the lower time frames, and see where things may be headed next. So first of all, let's just start here on the monthly time frame. Okay, we didn't get that engulfing candle, obviously. Right, that's where it was, 67,500. Didn't happen. We actually had a bit of a dump after a rejection from that level over the past couple of days. Closing relatively neutral here. You can't say it's bullish, you can't say it's bearish. We have a doji type of thing. I mean, it's a relatively standard looking candle. You got a wick on either side. It made new lows. It didn't breach any highs. It's been pretty much consistent from what we've been seeing all the way back from March, where we have not made new highs on each candle, apart from that June one where it had an SFP, but didn't do it on spot, of course. And it's just been consistently lower lows, lower highs, but staying within a range. The other thing that we have here from the monthly is we're right in the middle of that range. So the move down that we've had this morning has tapped almost to the dollar, the midpoint from our high to our low. So we are at a 50%. We are at the middle, at the 50% point of this range. And we are still sitting above those previous all-time highs within this zone here when we look from a candle close perspective. So it's all looking okay from a monthly time frame. Call it whatever you want to call it. Looks like it could be a nice little flag here. To be looking for higher prices certainly doesn't look bearish. And if you do look at the kind of the trend that we're in right now, still very much looks like sideways before continuation higher. It's just whether the low at this stage is in, or whether we do, of course, come down to fill a little bit more of this gap that we have all the way down here to take us just below that $50,000 down towards 49. And before getting a bounce. But overall, relatively happy with how things are looking on the monthly. It's just a lot of sideways chop. Go down onto the weekly time frame, and of course we can see here the range once again. We've played out the weekly is the one that's real clean, because what has this done? It's filled the gap on the weekly. All right, you've had a rotation back up towards the highs. This came up into the value area high of the range. So if we do just draw on our value area here, we can see rotation back into value, up to value area high, rejection, back into the exact midpoint of the range, and now seeing a bounce. So from the weekly perspective, of course, we are seeing a move down. We haven't yet taken out those previous week lows. I think that is something that we can be looking for as we go into the rest of the week. And of course, we do still have a little bit of an imbalance down here that takes us down just below that 62 towards $61,500. Anything below that, I'd start to get a little bit scared. So on a weekly perspective, you just do not want to see closes below that 61,500. I am about to sneeze. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. It's passed. I'm good. I can carry on. Yeah, we just don't want to see a close below that 61.4, 61.5. From a weekly time frame. This really should be acting as the deviation, and that is almost a line in the sand if you're bullish. Let's not go below there. Yeah, that would suck. Now, bring things down onto the daily. And what do we have? Once again, you can see the midpoint of this range. What do we also have? Equal lows, and then more equal lows, and then more equal lows, all lining up together. Now, this is a very, very typical crypto thing that quite often happens, because what do we do? What have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4 days of higher lows, all within around about $150 range. Now, one would expect that would get swept. You also have another low just down here, that liquidity would get swept. But I've seen this happen many times before where it just doesn't happen. So it does feel inevitable when you look from it on a daily perspective that those lows are going to go. But I have seen many times in the past where they just quite simply have not gone. We've had it as recently as back here, where we kept on making these just marginally higher highs, marginally. They didn't go, and we just kept on creeping higher. And you do get occasions where this does happen. So although it feels like it's inevitable, and it would be a trade I would look to take, that takes us down into that 62K area. It could be one of those things where it's just Bitcoin being Bitcoin, crypto being crypto. It just likes to scare people and make things a little bit complicated for us. Going down onto the 4 hour. Okay, once again, you can see very clearly here. All right, this is the zone that if it is going to go lower, that's the zone you want to bounce from. All right, you do not want to be seeing any acceptance back below there. That would be very, very bad. Now, I think that's enough on this chart. I'm just going to bring things over onto the one that I use more often, which is the spot chart. So, as you guys will know, I am holding a short position. All right, I don't have a lot of it left. It's not making me tons of money as we go down. That's just how it is. I did try a long position. And I've closed out of that at this stage. I gave it a little bit of time yesterday, and then we had a pretty terrible monthly close. And it was late last night. I just was like, can't be dealing with this. We've got these lows really close to each other now. It's just not looking great. So, of course, with the new monthly open, we have seen a move down. That's taken us very close to these previous lows here. We've bounced back into our daily open, our monthly open. And if we are to see a rejection from here, it is very simple for myself. What we have now is that previous month open as a level of support. So if this does come down, tap into this previous month open down here at, let me just go back onto this. This is getting a little messy. If we just come back over here, then that monthly level, which is now the previous month open, 62,669. 669, right, is a nice level to be aware of for another potential bounce that maybe once again just front runs this area of single prints, this area of imbalance that we have from back on the 15th of July where we did have that markup. So that's kind of what we're looking at. That would be the first point in which, if we do come down here to the 62K and we get a response from it, that would be the first time that I would look to compound longs from here. What I will not do is buy blindly as we come down here, okay? Because we are in a downtrend. I will not be placing bids within this area, and I will not actually buy 62K. What I will do, if I want to take a long position, because this would be weakness, okay, we have to accept that it would be weakness, all right, it is changing the trend, but if there is a response and a recovery, then I would be happy to bid again around the level that we're at now in order to then seek higher prices. Okay, so that's the way that I would seek to trade this. I will not be buying here. I will not be buying here, but if we do come back here again, I will be buying, probably, yeah? And it's just that kind of thing. You want to see the response and the reaction. Okay, get a bit of a reaction from that. If it doesn't happen, then we simply grind down. You just do not want to be caught in a situation where it just starts rolling over once again. Now, of course, there is... I haven't been keeping up to it, but there's some more news, there's some more FUD coming out. Natural that it would happen when the market's doing something like this, and it's the beginning of the month, so there's going to be a little bit of weird stuff going on likely anyway, right? Of course, FOMC, there was a slight FOMC yesterday was terrible. It was the most boring thing I've ever witnessed from any news event ever, and it just couldn't get above the daily open. Just literally, no, this wasn't even the daily open at that stage, was it? It was the previous day open. It just couldn't get above it, kept trying, was unable to, and then puke a little bit later on. So yeah, really like just, there's not a whole lot to trade here. It would have been relatively easy to go for short positions at that previous day open at that stage. It wasn't something I took. I had this short from here. I had the long position. But yeah, as soon as it started to roll over and look like it started to look bad, when we just didn't get any kind of bounce going on here, then that's when I did eventually just close the little long that I had. It was a minimal loss, and just wait for this to get some continuation lower. Now, yeah, we're just rejecting off monthly open right now. The only other thing I really want to discuss is something that we have spoken about on previous streams, and that is that we have cleaned up now the MPOC that we had here at 64,200. Okay, so we had those naked time and volume points of control at 64,200. That was something that we were looking at. Now, the profile that we've got here is kind of weird, all right, because what we're left with is 3 strange value zones, which is why I'm not like overall feeling bearish about all of this. You actually had 2 profiles over the past couple of days that would signify a higher probability that we're going to be seeing higher prices. Okay, you can see dipping down into excess below, recovery, balance, dips down, excess below, recovery, balance. Now this move happened towards the end of the day. Okay, so it becomes a little bit skewed, but you do have balance there at 66k, and that means if price does make its way back up to 66k, back into this balance zone, then this is just to be seen as another deviation. Okay, it's outside of value, right? You're coming back in to test this value here, just making sure that it's support. All right, reclaim this 65, 600, 66k, and then it's a very high probability that you trade all the way through to that 69, 600. Okay, because that is where the value has been established. It is above us, and realistically, you've got a long way down to find the next areas, right? So if there is to be a drop into 62, it has to be a quick recovery. It has to be an immediate recovery that gets back above 64, ideally back above 65, 66 before I'd start bidding and expecting higher prices. And just what we cannot see at this stage, you do not want to be entering into any of this junk down here. All right, as soon as that happens, okay, as soon as you enter into this area, my bias flips macro bearish once again. And I would therefore have to be expecting all of this to be traded through and probably come out the other side of it again, which means another new macro low being put in over the course of the next few weeks. So we don't want to be messing around with any of this stuff. All right, if you're bullish, let's leave behind this POC, leave behind this one, leave behind this one, leave behind this one. You established value down here. You started to move out of it in a relatively decent way. Yes, okay, you weren't correcting imbalances. Well, you weren't back testing points of control on the way up, but you were balanced, and then you impulse. You don't want to be coming back down here if you're bullish. So as long as we remain above that point, if we do dip to 62 and we reclaim, that means that we can be looking for higher prices. But overall, it is the summer. We probably stay here for most of it. That is just the reality of it. It is what we have been talking about throughout the most of this summer. Of course, we did have slightly larger moves down than what we would. Whoopsie, but Blofin. Thank you. Yeah, slightly larger move down, of course, than what we would expect. But now maybe after we've had that capitulation, now the slow summer that people were expecting. Okay, because when we look at this chart previously, we'd had the rotation to the top of the range. I think people were expecting the slow summer and then the move up. And now I think because we had the deviation, people were expecting us to just continue to blast onto new highs. And now maybe that means we get the long slow summer, because it's a little bit less of an expectation of that. Yeah, so that's that really. That is that. Any additional confluence that we have to go off of from here? Just things that we haven't looked at. We're approaching. Okay, so anchored VWAP from the lows is at that previous month open. Nice confluency type of thing. Let me add a rolling VWAP. A 30-day rolling VWAP and see where that is. Oh, look at that. I totally didn't plan that beforehand. So we do have the 30-day, I believe, 30. Monthly rolling VWAP that is coming in around about that same time, which is quite nice. This is just a general nice looking thing that you can be looking at. The other thing that we have, of course, is, and I also don't have this on my chart, which is strange. Let's just add a moving average onto here. I believe we're at the what am I doing, man? That's completely wrong. That's not where a 200 EMA. Jeez. Anyway, you get the idea. We do have some moving averages that are some support here as well. It must be the 100. It's something. Right, I'm going to ruin this video if I keep on faffing around. There we go. It's the 100-day moving average that is also here, potentially acting as some support. Now, we have seen previously, okay, you dipped into it back here. We dipped into it here. It acted as resistance as we back tested it. It's now acting as support, okay? So we've been trading around it. This is a nice area that you would look to bid. So what we are okay with is if there is a spike down here to 62, it's fine. But you probably, on whatever day that happens, you want to see recovered the same day and then a reversal hammer. So let's say if we were to dip to 62K today, you want to see that candle close back up where we are now. All right. Or if it happens another day, blah, 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 you do that kind of thing. So the support's here. I'm not looking overall bearish. I'm still holding the short position just in case of lower prices. And let's just not be dealing with the stuff that's a little bit lower. There is one other thing, of course, that people do need to be aware of. It is that CME gap. But once again, I have mentioned this before. That is not something we should be going back to. Okay, breakaway gaps are different to intra-trend gaps, where if you are within a move and you do this and you gap up, okay, fair play, come back and fill it. But if you've been in a trend, and let's say this trend is here and this trend is here and you gap down, okay, that has shown that you've got people trapped within this zone and you should not be going back in to fill that gap. So that is the case with this one. If there are shorts trapped down here, all right, then we should not be going back down there. If we do go back down there, it's bearish. You look for lower prices. Righty-ho. Happy days. We've cleaned that up. We have done everything that we want to talk about. That's just another chart that kind of demonstrates how we have structure recently. So we are leaving excess at highs. Okay, we are filling imbalance at lows. And now that leaves us with zones in which to trade on either side of price. And yeah, as you know, we're slap bang in the middle. Let's keep it that way. Let's not stay. We don't want to see any acceptance below the middle. Okay, moves down, quickly regain. Higher prices look likely eventually. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching. Trade safe out there, of course. When markets are like this, they do have the potential to get a little bit frothy, especially if there's some more bad news that comes out. I know there's some bad news. There's bad news every day. Just depends if you're looking at it or not. So if there's bad news out there, take it easy. Be aware there are lows just below. But overall, yeah, it's all looking okay. So thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.